So this is going off of... So I was listening to something this week. I can't remember. It was one of my podcasts, and they were talking about the box office for Superman and Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And how these are both major critically received and fan-received popular movies.
Is it the same box office show I watch?
No.
Which box office show do you watch?
No, it was. I think it was one of my nerd podcasts.
Okay.
They usually don't talk about such things.
Oh, okay.
But they were talking about the movies.
Yeah.
And it made me think, because I did look at this, and so Superman is coming to the end of its theatrical run, which has been nowadays a month.
Is that it? That's
is
it.
that run?
The first month, and then
Yes.
that's it. It used to be that, and I remember when this started changing, and it weirded me out. I was like, that movie's already coming out on DVD. It used to be that the movie that came out in May came out on DVD at the end of September.
Yes.
That was
Or even longer.
Yeah, that was when your home version started. If it had a good run, it may not come out until December for Christmas. That might be when the DVDs start coming out.
Well, my first real love at cinema was Ghostbusters, which was in the theaters for 6 months.
Yeah.
Before, and then they usually take like a month in between before they release it on video, and then it's usually like another few months before it went to HBO.
Yeah.
And now it's like Superman is coming out digital, and I looked at it, the worldwide box office for it right now, 580 some odd million, which right now Fantastic Four, which also is coming to the tail end of its theatrical
and had
run.
a precipitous drop off.
It is third right now behind what's that new horror movie with the kids that all disappear?
Warriors or something?
Like the Warriors.
Yeah.
And Freakier Friday are both above the tentpole summer movie. Both Superman and Fantastic Four. Weapons, thank you. We're supposed to be these tentpole movies. Fantastic Four is already third behind two. I mean, Weapons is an indie horror movie.
Yeah.
And Freakier Friday is a Disney Plus movie
for
that
children,
they put out on theater.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because honestly, nowadays, movies like them need to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
If they don't make $1 billion, they might not lose money, but they're not really profitable.
They're not successful.
No.
They're not
successful. They're not setting up the groundwork for, especially with these two movies, quite literally, and I'm glad they came out in the same summer, are supposed to be the new ground level for Marvel and DC.
It was supposed to be a full reset.
Yes.
It was supposed to be, we're going back to basics.
Exactly.
We're going back to the thing that made us. Superman for DC, Fantastic Four for Marvel.
Yes.
These were the things that made them household names.
And so now my question is this truly the end of these superhero movies? If not superhero movies, these $300 million movies that need to make $1 billion, need to sell overseas, especially now with the standing we have around the world.
Yeah. Dropping every day.
Oh, every day. So we have this standing around the world where people just fucking hate Americans. And the majority, I would say, I believe it's the opposite of video games. Video games, the majority of the money they make is North America. And then the other half is, I would say 50-50 is North America, then the remainder of the world. Where movies, if you look at it, the box office for North America is typically like 300-400 million, and it's like 800 million worldwide.
It doesn't even define. The local domestic box office does not define success for a movie anymore.
Not even a little bit.
We talked about it a few weeks ago. Transformers, the reason why Transformers after 3 still had a 4 and a 5 and a Beast Wars and a Bumblebee and all these other things was because those movies were outrageously successful in China.
Yes.
Crazy, outrageously successful.
And in fact, I want to say the last like 3 or 4 were one of the co-producers was, I believe, Golden Harvest.
Yeah. I believe it's Transformers 4. The finale takes place in Beijing.
Yeah.
Like they knew their market.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
knew who they were gunning for.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't us.
Yes.
And they were willing to take all of us making fun of them for making a 4th and then a 5th Transformers movie because it wasn't for us. Going back to this whole argument of it's not for you. It wasn't for us. And a lot of our movies are kind of falling into this gap of like, that movie isn't made for us anymore. That movie was made for global box office reasons. And I it's just really fascinating because all my life, I was going to say the last 10 years, but it's really been all my life, there's been this decrying from the cinema crowd of, oh, major blockbusters are a waste of time and they're garbage. If you want a good movie, you have to watch independent movies. And I always was like, no, there's good blockbusters out there. I famously, when I was surrounded by people that wanted to study French and Italian cinema, I wanted to study American modern cinema because I was fascinated by the way studios planned out things, what they thought was going to work. And it's also the most approachable for any, it's a lot easier for me to watch a, dumb movie, let's say John Carter of Mars, than it is for me to watch Y Tu Mama Tambien. Are they equal movies? Absolutely not. One is way superior than the other. But everybody knows John Carter's great. I'm kidding. I would never. I find this current approach to be like the newest way that you can tell that this gulf is just growing and growing and growing and shows no sign of slowing down is like we were talking about earlier. You have a handful of indie movies that look really interesting, and then the blockbusters, you're just kind of left being like, okay, Avatar 3, Zootopia 2, all right, is anybody asking for this?
Yeah.
One of the resounding things that I've heard is regarding the Thunderbolt, the hardcore Marvelites, who are like any hardcore group, whether it's Apple or Sony or Marvel, Disney, the hardcores will eat the slop.
Oh, absolutely.
And say, this is delicious. Where has this been all of my life?
Yes.
And everybody else who has standards will look at it and be like, nobody was asking for this. Nobody was asking for a Thunderbolts movie, or at least not this version of a Thunderbolts movie. Nobody was asking for this version of the Eternals. Nobody was asking for this version of Wonder Woman 84. No one was asking for this version of X movie, except the studio who thought that this was the best way to move forward with a plan. I really desperately want to know what those machinations are, because from a third-party perspective, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
You look at it and you're just left wondering, going back to all of the arguments we've had all year long. Do we think Fantastic Four would have done better if they had done something different with Silver Surfer? Do we think that was the crux of the issue? I don't know. I think that there's a lot of issues here. I think that there's issues with The Thing. I think that there's issues with Johnny Storm. I think that there's issues with Reed Richards and Pedro Pascal writ large. People are kind of, speaking of Awkwafina, Pedro Pascal is getting close to that level with a lot of people of just like, he's everywhere, isn't he?
He truly is.
Which is the first step in the, man, I really don't want to see him anymore. So, again, I love you, Pedro Pascal. I would watch you like I would watch Karen Gillan every day in anything. But I'm just going to warn you, you're getting a little close to that line where people are like, I don't want to see you anymore.
He reminds me a lot of, like, he's turning into The Rock.
Yeah.
Where earlier roles, he would be able to act and stretch. And now he's playing Pedro Pascal in these movies. And it's like, I know, stretch. Thank you. But I look at the current stage of not only Marvel and DC and Disney, just the blockbuster in general. It reminds me of the Wii.
Yeah.
Let's use Marvel as the example with this one. So when Marvel started, you had the hardcore. You had the people that were just like, oh, this looks interesting. I never really watched these type of movies, so let's watch it. And those people branched off into the ones, like you said, that will eat anything.
Yeah.
And then as the system went along, you pissed off the hardcore because you went away from what drew them in and made them love you, and you lost them.
Yeah.
But then you lost the first stage of the ones that said, oh, what's this? Because they're like, all right, I had enough of it. I'm just going to put it away. And all you're left with is the slop eaters, which is not enough to make you a success.
That's why you see these 60+% drop-offs week 1 to week 2, is because week 1, you get good numbers because all the slop eaters will show up and eat your slop. And then week 2, turns out the slop eaters were good with just getting one round of slop. They don't need to come back and get another round of slop. Yep. And nobody else was really here because you chased them all away. If I look back at Marvel, there's a lot of elements of Phase 3 that are very faulty. there's an argument to be made that Age of Ultron was kind of the beginning of the end for Marvel in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
in terms of like, they overplayed their hand. They didn't make a good movie. They betrayed the fans, the hardcore fans that know the comics. They kind of started doing their own thing. They had kind of this weird malice towards people that had expectations of what they were going to do. They started doing things like Baron Strucker is going to be a big deal. He's not. We're never going to talk about him ever fucking again.
And look, Quicksilver, we're going to kill him.
We're going to kill him. Immediately kill him. And then you progress and you look at Ant-Man. Ant-Man for a lot of people was fine, but for hardcore fans was a disappointment.
Yes.
Civil War for a lot of people was fine,
Including
but for hardcore fans was a disappointment.
Major disappointment.
Doctor Strange, for a lot of people who didn't know anything about Doctor Strange, was great. But for the hardcores, we were like, this kind of bites. This isn't great.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. You get a few standouts. Black Panther, which again is more of an artistic venture than any of the other Marvel pieces around it. Infinity War, which is more because of the hype around it than anything else. There's still some sections of Infinity War. Drax eating his guzzle nuts or whatever the fuck they are. Yeah. Fucking dumb. That was a waste of 5 minutes of my life that I will never get back.
And Infinity War was the one that really started nailing we're in peril. Oh, someone's coming and save. Yeah. Oh, we're in peril. Oh, someone's going to come and save. Oh, applause. Like, it seems like they want, more than anything, those applause moments.
Yeah.
But now they have empty theaters, so they're not getting the fucking applause moments.
And the applause moments don't pay off.
No.
You know, I'm left kind of like, I look at, because I'm trying to think of like Eternals. When in Eternals is there a great applause moment? I think when like Makari shows up and gives us our first speedster in the MCU, like true speedster, because Quicksilver would run out of breath after running for like 2 minutes. Yeah. And I was like, what kind of fucking Quicksilver is this? So you made a bullshit character and he just wears sneakers and like athletic gear. You made a bullshit character. And then Days of Future Past the year before was like, this is how you do the character. Yeah. So it was even worse. I'm at a loss. I'm trying to think of like great big, stand up and cheer moments. And I know that they wanted there to be them, but like in a lot of cases they ruin them. I'm looking at Shang-Chi where the big stand up and cheer moment is when the dragon appears.
Yeah.
Well, they ruined that by putting the dragon in the fucking trailer. So I don't know what you thought was going to happen. Also, the Death Keeper, or whatever his name is, gets fucking killed in the trailer. Like, what's happening? What is happening right now?
Well, and I want you to think about this. Think about all the Phase 1 prior to Avengers. None of those movies really had a stand-up and cheer moment.
No.
They didn't. They didn't put those like, oh my God, this is the greatest, like stand up and...
The moments that stick with me from Phase 1 are Tony going through the village in the Middle East and blowing out all the terrorists. That's a great moment. When he gets shot by the tank and just stands up and blows it up, that was a stand-up and cheer moment. Cap, when he's talking to Red Skull, and Red Skull says, "What makes you so special?" And Steve says, "Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn." That's a stand-up and cheer moment, but it's quiet. It's not like a stand-up and cheer moment like Thor descending from the heavens.
Thank you. But like even in Avengers, as much as I love the Hulk smash, that was like your first take. So it's almost like Joss Whedon kind of fucked up.
Joss Whedon came in and changed the way that dialogue works within the universe.
Yes.
And at times, it's good because sometimes the dialogue doesn't sound like it should, like a comic book storyline, which is good in some situations, like First Avenger. There's moments where you don't want to sound like a comic book. There are moments where you do want to sound like a comic book. Thor, when it doesn't sound like a comic book, you kind of feel like, what's happening here? What's all this about? After Avengers, it's all comic book dialogue. That's when you get that Marvel,
except for Winter Soldier. That's the only one that they stuck to like.
And even then, there's still comedic moments, but they don't undercut what's happening.
Exactly.
When Joss Whedon comes in, you get this sense of nothing can ever be too serious. Otherwise, we need a joke.
Yes.
And so it's like a good example is when Tony is making a drink and talking to Loki, and Loki says, "How will your friends fight me when they're so busy fighting you?" And he's going to put him under mind control, and it taps on his arc reactor, and it doesn't work. And Tony says, "Well, performance issues, 1 out of 9." And okay, fine. That's fine. That's Tony Stark, and in a moment that makes sense. But then you get all of the other stupid jokes that fully undercut moments that are deeply serious.
Yes.
And should be taken seriously, and where desperation would enhance the moment of the scene greatly.
And quite literally, the Avengers was the beginning of the end of Loki.
Yeah.
Because the first Thor, I thought they did him well.
Oh, they did a great job with him.
Did a great job. And then they turned him into a joke.
Well, he becomes kind of this puppy for Thanos. And you're kind of left like, Loki's a puppy for Thanos. I guess I get it because it gives him power, but his plan doesn't make any fucking sense.
Doesn't make any sense. And then when the Hulk throwing him down, it's like, he is a joke.
Yeah.
He's not serious.
Well, and then you get Thor the Dark Thor. And then it's all out the window from there.
Oh, it was completely done.
Yeah.
But it started with Avengers.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm looking at these movies now, and I'm going to be... You would think the two movies that could bring the money in will be the new Spider-Man and the next Avengers.
Yeah.
I am shocked I'm not shocked. I am very curious to see what they are going to do.
Yeah.
Because if they hit $1 billion each, I would be shocked. I think we're at a point that these movies are not going to do that anymore.
Well, and honestly, Doom Part 1 to me right now feels like a setup film. It does not feel like it's going to have any level of payoff.
No, it's going to be like an Infinity War.
Well, I think it's going to be Infinity War outside of a universe that we care about.
Yeah.
I think all of it's going to take place in a universe outside of the MCU, and then the end of the movie, similar to Thanos doing the snap, is going to be Doom coming to our universe. Yeah. The supposed... I won't call it the 616. It's not 616. It's six. No, it's like 999999998 or something stupid like that. It's fucking dumb. You had all the numbers in the world. You could have picked anything, and you picked the dumbest number. And then when you had to have a number, you picked one that was already taken. That's fucking stupid. That's lunacy. What the fuck is wrong with you? So I want this to work because I love Marvel, and I miss that buzz I used to get when you would watch something and something would show up and you'd be so excited. Oh my God, look. Because the last few years have been Photon shows up and I get fucking psyched because Photon is in WandaVision. Fucking great. Let's go. And then you get the Marvels, and she's been neutered to this offensive degree to a point where I saw a video someone made where they were talking about how great Photon is and how much they didn't understand her power set. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. They had her in a fucking suit.
Yeah.
I understand that they had her in a spacewalk suit because they had to have Kamala Khan transport places with her so that, she couldn't be dying out in the vacuum of space. But let's be very clear. Photon is made out of light.
Yeah.
She does not need to eat or breathe. She can travel across the fucking universe in a matter of moments, okay? Back in the day, when Thor had a fucking station out past goddamn Jupiter to alert the U.S., to alert the Earth in case alien invaders came, who did he have on the team? He had fucking Living Lightning and Photon, because they were the fastest fuckers in the universe that could get back home and deliver a goddamn message. And what have we reduced fucking Photon to? A joke, a side character, a gag almost at times.
Well, and that's the thing, and I'll be honest, all of this has sparked like this deluge of Marvel in my mind of why I'm probably never going to see another Marvel movie in the theater ever again. And a big part of it is, I'll be honest, and it started with Infinity War. Well, it actually started with Civil War. As much as I've always wanted to see all of my heroes in one movie, it's too much. Like the end, like Endgame at the end, it's just too much, and every character has to have their moment, and it's like it's just too much.
See, I agree with you to a degree. I think that if it was done with a defter hand, you can have all those characters. But it's the fact that we need to stop in and see what Drax is doing and what Mantis is doing.
Well, that's
and
how
what
they set it
M'Baku
up,
is doing.
though.
But like, if you didn't do that, if you didn't have this necessity to stop in with literally every person we've ever met ever, I love Winston Duke. I do not need to see what M'Baku is doing during the last attack with Thanos. I don't. I don't care what Manape is doing. I don't care, okay? I wish I could, but I don't. You know why? Because there's all this happening.
Yeah.
So I just don't have the RAM to deal with M'Baku and Drax. I don't have the RAM to deal with Star-Lord meeting Gamora again, let alone all this other stuff. So, like, I agree with you. When it's done well, nothing will be as cool as that first moment in Avengers. Seeing that in theaters, after all of this hype, after all this time, after waiting my entire life for anyone to care about Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and Hawkeye, which is still a work in progress.
Yes.
After all this time, we're still working on it. We can't get it right. We can't crack that egg. I don't know why. My life as a living weapon seems pretty straightforward about how to do it. I love those moments, but I agree with you. If you don't have a deft hand who can balance all those scales, then it just becomes a ton of stuff.
Well, and it turns into pandering moments, like having all of the female superheroes get together. And it's like, that's, once again, Marvel going, no, we know how to write for women. See, we have them all in this one scene fighting. It's like, all right, what about the other 3 hours that you didn't have any of them pretty much? How
about the fact that almost all of these women were snapped out of existence?
Yeah.
And then you had Black Widow and Captain Marvel and Nebula. I almost called her Naboo. Nebula. And that's your female character presence?
But
and
the whole
Captain Marvel is gone for like the entire movie.
In the entire movie, it is quite literally Nebula and Scarlet and
Black Widow.
Black Widow. That's it.
Yeah. And
it's like
you could have had Okoye. What has Okoye been doing this whole time?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that Shuri and T'Challa were both snapped. What has Okoye been doing? What has Wakanda been doing this whole time? We will never know because apparently nobody cares.
Yeah.
I care. I very much want to know. Okay? Why am I so disappointed by elements of Civil War? It's because I own all of the Civil War novels. Okay? All of the tie-ins. I have the Frontline tie-in. That's why I know about Frontline.
Yeah.
Okay? The fact is, you're just blowing it. You're just not getting it done. You're making these short-sighted, quick and easy dump-off solutions. And unless you're Tom Brady, that doesn't work. You can't matriculate the ball down the field with these little dump-offs.
And you brought up a good point. Let's say the beginning of Endgame, and you have this brain trust of who is still alive. I go back to, this is one of my favorite, I want to say it was 2 years ago, John Mulaney hosted the Oscar Governor's Ball. Mm-hmm. And one of the people who were getting an award was Angela Bassett. And his joke was, she got nominated for an Oscar for a Marvel movie. And he goes, it's like getting a Pulitzer nomination for a Reddit comment.
Yeah.
And it was great. And it's like, okay, the Queen is insanely intelligent and she runs a fucking highly advanced kingdom. You're not going to have, like, did she get snapped? Or maybe she should be involved in this brain trust of the fucking planet.
Is she going to carry on her son's dream?
Yes!
To open their borders and help the world at the time of highest crisis? Or is she going to regress and say, no, this crisis happened in our backyard. We need to take care of ourselves first, and then we can help take care of the rest of the world. That's an interesting concept. We're never going to explore it.
And at this point, Captain America fucking knows them, and so does Black Widow. They were fighting alongside them in the last fucking movie.
I'm so mad at what they've done to some of these characters over time because, like, not only is it negligence in terms of, like, this character should be here, and they're not.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense why they're not. But then they go around like clumsy children.
Yeah.
And fucking ruin stuff in post. So we find out that Sharon Carter wasn't snapped.
Yeah.
And has been around the whole time.
Yeah.
And
becoming a supervillain.
Never reached out to her.
No.
Making her become a supervillain in Madripoor. What the fuck? So you've just ruined Steve Rogers' entire character.
Yeah.
Sharon Carter was super important to him, and now you've just absolutely cratered his character for no reason. At one point, we just assumed that Sharon had been snapped like everybody else, but then you went around like a clumsy child and told us, no, she's been here the whole fucking time,
but also,
and Steve did nothing to find her?
Nobody went after Hawkeye.
Hawkeye!
They allowed him to become the Ronin without anyone saying, wait a second, he's still alive. What the fuck?
We could really use a living weapon right now.
He's one of our fucking... Not only that,
he's one of our original six.
Find him.
Original six.
But you made me think of this, though. The snap quite literally happened in Wakanda.
Yes.
Why would you even leave Wakanda? Because, the Avengers compound is the Avengers compound. They don't have a fraction of the technology they have in Wakanda, and you're going to fucking leave Wakanda?
And Tony Stark is missing?
Yes!
Tony Stark is in space and missing 4 months. He's gone 4 months.
Yeah.
And you're in Wakanda, and you're not going to do anything to figure this out. There should be, instead of this whole time travel malarkey bullshit, there should be scene after scene after scene about them trying to reconstitute the time stone energy in Wakanda. We have the technology. It happened here. We have a safe space where we can do our experiments. Let's see if we can somehow tap into the power of the time stone that was used here. And that way we can do something. Or let's go around and explore how the world is adapting to what's happened instead of just watching Scarlet Witch, instead of just watching Black Widow mope around. And not, be like,
the only thing I could think of is the filmmakers said, well, we need to put him back in America.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any fucking narrative sense.
As much as I love Captain America leading a support group like Sam Wilson used to, and that's a great character touch, again, fully ruined by the Sharon Carter revelation.
Yes.
And that's a great scene. You can do more.
Yes.
There's more that you can do. This is a 3-hour movie. Why is so much of this time travel? Why is so much of this fat Thor? Listen, I am a fat man. I appreciate being given a fat cosplay to wear comfortably. What's happening? What's going on? What is this? Why is Korg here? Korg didn't get snapped. We're not going to explore anything that's going on with New Asgard or Valkyrie or anything. None of this matters, but we have time to have fucking Scott's tacos fly out of his hand because the jets of the plane land too close. What's happening?
And Thor, whose whole existence, based on what Odin says when he dies, is it's not Asgard isn't a place, it's the people. There's still Asgardians alive, and he's like, fuck them.
That he's surrounded by.
Yeah.
He's living amongst them.
And instead of ruling them, he says, I'm going to get fat and drink and play video games.
And play Fortnite with Korg on my couch.
And make stupid jokes.
What is happening? What is the actual thought process?
This is where I'm getting with this whole topic. It's like, if this is what the remainder of the movies are going to continue to follow.
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
Yeah.
Like, what are we looking at for these future movies?
Well, it goes back.
Same with DC.
Yeah, it goes back to that idea of clobbering time is a phrase from a kids' TV show.
Yeah.
In universe. It's not something that the thing says. It's something that some corporate shill came up with as a catchphrase for a kids' TV show. I hate this.
Yeah.
I hate this. I immediately and openly hate this.
Yeah.
This is not funny. This is not where you're going to strike a good bit. This is not a good place to mine for comedy or anything else. You know what you have to do. Yeah. If he doesn't want to say it anymore, then that can still be a bit. But you have to have had him say it. That has to have been part of his personality.
Yeah.
You cannot. It'd be like if he wasn't part of the Yancey Street Gang, or if he wasn't from Yonkers, or he didn't have blue eyes. Mm-hmm. It's part of the gig, man. It all comes together. It's all part of it. You can't avoid it. You know what happens when you avoid it? Van Forstick happens when you avoid it.
Exactly. And I'll be honest, something that really sparked this in me was John Barenthal, which everyone has a podcast now. It's not as good as ours, but John Barenthal has a podcast now, and he interviewed David Ayers. And they were talking about, like, he asked him, because I guess I didn't realize this, David Ayers directed Fury, which Barenthal was in. So they're talking about that, and he goes, what movies? And he goes, well, of course, Suicide Squad. He goes, he has the director's cut of the original Suicide Squad. And he said every time he shows it to people, the only emotion that comes out of them is rage. Because he said he talked to James Gunn, and they are not against it. And it's like things like this, where it's like, okay, we need to get some kind of juice flowing.
Yes.
And a lot of people, I want
a director's cut of some of these movies.
Yes.
I want the version of Age of Ultron that could have been. I want a better version of Age of Ultron. We can get into the nitty-gritty. I am going to tell you that you have to get rid of the farmhouse. That has to go. I know that doesn't work with all the rest of the canon that you built, but you never should have built the farmhouse in the first place, you fucking idiot. And I would still argue that having Tony Stark create Ultron is a massive misstep. And it's been recreated in media since then. So now the canon is just as much that Tony made Ultron as that Hank Pym made Ultron, which is fucking insane to me.
No, it's absolutely insane. And it's Like, you don't even need to release it into theaters.
No.
You can say, hey, $19.99 on demand. You can get it on Apple TV or whatever. Not $20.
Yeah.
They would make a fortune off of this. They even sell it in Blu-rays like they did. I have the 4K Bluray of the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
Even though it's not my favorite movie, I think it's 1,000 times better.
It's
than
way
the
better
original.
than the other Justice
Way
League.
better than the original Justice League. But that's the thing, is they need to juice up us.
Yeah.
They need
the original
back.
hardcore fans.
And I don't think they're gonna do it.
No, because we're not slop eaters.
No.
We go in and we see what they're building and we say, well, that's not the right color.
Yes.
Oh, that's not how right angles are supposed to look. Oh, that's not the right character for this moment. I don't like that you did that. And they say, well, we're not making it for you anymore. You're too much trouble. You got too many opinions.
You and me, LexCorp.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
That simple thing.
Luthor Corps versus LexCorp.
Simple.
It's all it takes.
Yes.
All right? We can get into the nitty-gritty about deciding that Jor-El is a fucking eugenics guy.
No, and
that was crazy.
And I will never buy that.
That was fucking nuts. The fact that he tells Superman in canon, in the story, to build harems.
Yes.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. And it's why I'm drawing a blank. Omni-Man's people, Viltrumites. He turned Kryptonians into Viltrumites.
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
that's not what the Kryptonians
not
are.
What they are.
That's what Brainiac is.
Yes, thank you.
That's what Brainiac's for,
That's
guys.
what they're doing. They're rewriting the basis of these characters, and it's like, no, you gotta start Iron Man.
Jim Gunn, come here, James, I gotta talk to you. You know I'm gonna take it seriously because I'm calling you James instead of Jim.
Yeah.
James, come here. Here's an idea. You can fix this. It's not too late. We can still fix this. Brainiac is the central computer system for all of Krypton. We know this. Brainiac is sociopathic and doesn't understand the intricacies of life. So could it be that Brainiac
falsified that
redid the video?
Yes.
And in an attempt to try and get Cal to execute Brainiac's ideal version of Krypton.
See, that would salvage it.
That would salvage it. We can fix it, but not if you keep going and say, no, I didn't make any mistakes. No, this is fine.
Well, and I saw an interview with him, and he used this, God, it's such an arrogant, he said because he's such a fan of these characters, he felt that gave him carte blanche to make these changes. He goes, only somebody that has like the knowledge I have would be able to make...
Only someone who's seen a Superman movie in the last 40 years would be able to tell you that Jor-El is fully wrong.
Yes.
Oh, wait. How many Superman movies have there been in the last 40 years that featured Jor-El? Oh, quite a few, as I counted.
Yeah. And it's annoying. But that's where I don't really know what's going to happen with these blockbusters. Like, it's almost like it started with Jaws, and we've hit that peak, like, mid-2000s, and then ever since Phase 2 of Marvel.
Yeah.
Because all the studios have tried to build these... As soon as they tried to build universes, that was the death knell.
Well, and it's important to remember that back in 1977, in the early days of the blockbuster era, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg had a bet.
Yep.
Over what would be more popular.
Star Wars
or Third
Close
Encounters.
Yeah.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
The reason that this was happening was in part because they were friends, but also because the studio had no faith that Star Wars was going to work.
Yep.
They thought it was going to be a massive failure. And everybody, including Francois Truffaut of all people, showed up for Close Encounters. Which one is more important culturally speaking now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, you can't just go in and be like, it's definitely going to be this. You have to be willing to adapt, which is something that we need to remember as well. But come on.
But that's the thing, is I think these movies they're making are for the... And it is. It's the current generation. Yeah. It's the... Everything's got to be fast-paced. Everything's got to be
I'm already
quick.
watching TikToks while I'm watching this movie.
Exactly. They need to understand those movies are not... People that are going to the theater now are people like us.
Yeah.
People who are watching those movies are waiting for it to come out on demand.
Yeah.
Or come out on streaming because they don't give a fuck when it comes out. They want to see it when they have access to it and they don't have to pay for it.
Well, it's the difference between you and I talking about why we're upset about X, Y, and Z happening in a movie, and Tim Robinson in a movie as a joke saying there's a new Marvel movie out, should be fun, we can go see that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's the problem right there. The vast majority of people see it that way, and that's fine. But now you've left all of us hardcores in the dust, so you can go for the slop eaters.
Exactly.
So now the Tim Robbins of the world, Robinsons, not Tim Robbins, the Tim Robinsons of the world can make fun of Marvel because it is genuinely trash.
Yes.
Because the moments that filled us, the hardcores, with joy have been so bastardized and changed.
Yep.
You know, I was excited about the Wonder Man movie until I found out fucking Trevor Slattery's in it.
Yeah.
That ruins it.
Yeah.
You understand that ruins it, right? It's better to not have Ben Kingsley in this movie or show or whatever you want to call it. That fully fucking ruins it.
Yep.
The answer in Shang-Chi was to have the skeleton of Trevor in the corner.
Yes.
That was the answer.
Yes.
The Ten Rings picked
That
him up
was your
and killed
setup.
him for taking their name.
Yes.
That's the answer.
But that's why they'll never get out of their own way, because they realized after Iron Man 3 that the problem was Trevor and people were pissed because of Trevor. So they wrote the perfect way to get rid of him, and then you fucking bring him back. They just can't, like you've said a million times, they can't get out of their own way.
They can't help themselves. Well, it's like how they had for that brief period where they had the short films that they would release online in between each movie.
Which was the Trevor Slattery one.
There was a Trevor Slattery one,
yeah.
and I think it was the same one. Was it Justin
Hail
Hammer?
to the King it was called.
Yeah, I think there was also Justin Hammer had one. It may have been the same
I
one.
think so, yeah. It wasn't the same one, it was different.
But like it was this idea of showing these characters in a different light, and in the case of the Trevor Slattery one, it was like, maybe he really is the Mandarin. Oh, maybe this whole thing has been a big joke. I don't know. Who can say? And all of which doesn't fucking matter, because we get to Shang-Chi, and it's revealed that Trevor really is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
So why is he here? If he's not actually the Mandarin and he has no importance to anything going on, the only reason to have him is as a joke. And as it turns out, he's the only person that can find our way into this magical kingdom, which only opens if you have a pure heart or something. So we have to have Trevor there to guide the... Why is this happening?
And it's like you set up the Mandarin in that short as the Mandarin who he truly is, this bloodthirsty guy who's really fucking pissed that they made a joke of him, and he is going to absolutely destroy Trevor Slattery, but for some reason he lets him live because he's their new Simple Jack.
Yeah, Simple Jack.
He's their Simple Jack now because he'll do their performances, and it's like, you made Simple Jack into a fucking Marvel character? Like, the fuck are you doing?
And you put him in another Southeastern Asian country.
Yes, dude. It truly is Simple fucking Jack.
What are we doing? What is the plan here? There is no plan. None plan left beef. That's all it is. It's no plan, and all that's left is beef.
Yeah.
Beef for everybody to deal with, because you end up sitting here being like, you know what would have made Black Widow better is just having Taskmaster be the villain the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
That's what have made that movie great, but you didn't do that.
Yeah.
And instead you turned it into a Me Too piece about, oh, the terrible things that men do to women. Dude, I fucking know. I fight that battle every fucking day to try and not be seen by every fucking person as part of the problem. I try every fucking day to fight that battle. You know what's not going to help me fight it? This. This is yet another piece of information that I already know.
Well, that's always been... Okay, I wouldn't say always. That's been their problem for a long time. And I think Thor Love and Thunder was the big thing where it's like, listen, we understand, just like you're saying, we know there's a problem out there. There are assholes out there. There are douchebags. But when you make the entire male race look like a joke in your media, that's where you're going to fucking piss people off.
Yeah.
Because it's like, just like you're saying, you and I are on the top of that. Listen, dude, we respect women. We understand shit. But we're not fucking idiots, and you don't need to make all of the characters that we grew up loving look like fucking idiots just to make the female characters look stronger, and then fuck up the female characters on top of it.
Yeah. I'm looking at you, Nick Fury. What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened to Nick Fury?
About Secret Wars.
I'm just talking about Captain Marvel, or the Marvels. I'm just talking about the Marvels.
That started with Secret Invasion. That went into the Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
But like, this is what they do now. This is all they do, is just like come up with a bullshit argument that is based around the zeitgeist of the moment, not around any canon or long-term solutions or ideas that are relevant or anything. It's just, what is the internet talking about today? We're going to make that be the basis of our movie. And then we're immediately going to throw that away when we're done. It's like TD Bank. I remember when I lived in New York, I had so many friends that were extremely angry with TD Bank. Not because of their banking policies, but because they would make this big show about Pride every June. And then July 1st, they would fold all their Pride stuff away and put it back in the back room and treat it like it was Valentine's Day. It's fucking not. This means a lot to a lot of people. And you can't just play the game every once in a while and then move on to the next thing when it doesn't work or when you're done with it. You know, so you look at Secret Invasion. How much of Secret Invasion is actually going to stay canon eventually?
Nothing.
How much of it is going to end up like Sharon Carter, where there was a thing that was going to be a certain way, and then they did this whole 180 because they had a different idea, and so they decided, oh, this one thing that we have, we don't know how to do anything with it, or we don't like what we're doing with it, so we're going to do a complete change on the entire thing, and we're going to do a terrible job of it.
Well, it's already not canon because they knew it bombed, so they're not going to make it canon, but then didn't his Skrull wife go up with him to the space station?
Yeah.
And in the Marvel, she wasn't there?
She's not there.
So it's like, it already isn't canon. It's already acting as it never happened. But it's like, the thing I saw an interview with Tarantino when he was talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he was getting all the shit about Margot Robbie not having enough lines, and he's like, and I appreciate when he says this. He goes, I'm not going to write a movie and put in things that you think I need to put in. He goes, she is not the main character of the story, but she's still, like, she doesn't have a lot of lines, but if you look at it, he is this glowing, loving of Sharon Tate. And her character,
he saves her from being murdered.
Saves her from being murdered in the scenes where she's watching herself in the pure joy. She is the joy of that movie. You have the romance of the two males, but she's the joy of the movie to get all the shit. And he's like, dude, Jackie Brown, she was the badass lead character. And then I don't know if you know about this movie called Kill Bill, where the fucking one killing everybody was a female character, and she's the main.
The Hateful Eight, where Jennifer Jason Leigh is just fucking up everybody.
And she's awesome.
And she's great.
And it's like, they need... I understand there is this push now for everything has to be diverse. Get it. But once again, and I know I've gone to bat with this a million times, you got to do it right. You got to tell the right story. You got to tell a story. You need to tell a story that has diversity, not a diverse...
not diversify a other story.
Exactly.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying before about organic Spider-Man matter. I was so excited because I didn't have to manufacture Spider-Man matter. I could have talked about how I've been playing Spider-Man 2, the game, again, and I finished it again, and I have bigger problems with it than I used to, but I don't know how relevant that is to anybody besides me, and so this other Spider-Man stuff was more important. I was like, this is cooler, this is better. What you're doing is taking a political stance, a representational stance, and enforcing it on stuff that doesn't always gel with that. So there's no organic sense to it. You look at Black Panther. That was fucking organic. To the point where when you see fucking Bilbo Baggins in the movie, you're like, why is Arthur Darvill in this movie? Not Arthur Darvill. What's his name? The guy with the face who's Martin Freeman. Why is Martin Freeman in this movie? What role does he play? Is he just here to make the white audience feel more comfortable? What's going on with this? And otherwise, it's a fully organic thing. You can immediately pick out the thing that's not organic. You can immediately see that, and that's all Marvel properties now.
Yeah.
And so you have, like, the Marvels, and you have these opportunities to do cool things with Photon, with Carol, with Kamala Khan. You actively choose not to do those things because they're inconvenient for you, but you will reinforce other things instead. And so you have the new accuser, whose name I don't even remember, and she doesn't really have a purpose. She has a motivation, but not a. She has a.
No, she was
just
a terrible character.
She's just a generic villain.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is just that they lost their son, and Carol could have restarted it at any time, and so you're just left being like, so none of this needed to happen. So what I'm hearing from you is that none of this was relevant and needed to happen. That sucks. That fucking sucks. If you're going to make a Marvel's movie, Fucking make it, and have it be about Kamala Khan going out and trying to be a bigger superhero in a bigger world, which they touch on but they don't delve into.
Yeah.
Have it be about her family and how they feel about everything that's happening. Have it be about Monica Rambeau and how she sees Kamala Khan's family and how they approach her, how they approach Kamala Khan and her endeavors to be a hero. And she remembers Maria Rambeau and wishes that she had that. There's stuff here you can do, and you're actively choosing not to do it. And it makes me fucking wild.
Because they're making it for the least common denominator.
So instead, we have to go to this planet where everybody sings, now Carol's dress is just going to magically change, or her costume is going to magically change into a dress with literal Disney sparkles? What the fuck is happening? Dude. No. What the fuck is actually happening? But this is why this movie didn't do well, is because you have bullshit like this when you should be trying to write an organic story. You're just shoving stuff in and seeing what works. This is what female audiences like. Let's put a ton of it in.
And once again, you need to make, and I'm not saying this about the female audience not liking this kind of stuff.
No, I was saying that as a studio executive.
I know, but what I'm going to say is they are trying. Okay. It is still a much smaller piece of the puzzle. Pie. I would say it might be 75-25. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that more women don't see these movies, but I'm saying a lot of them, the 25% are the ones that really want to see these movies.
Well, and not for nothing, I heard a lot more women talking about Captain America's abs than Jane Foster becoming Thor.
Yeah.
You know, how many women did I hear talk about...
Oh, don't give a shit.
Touch his abs, Peggy. Do it for all of us. Nobody cared about Jane being Thor.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I really wanted to. But then you housed it in this movie that was bullshit. And then Taika Waititi comes back later and he's like, oh, I was doing like a funny take on the superhero story. So it's none of it should be taken seriously. He pulled the M. Night Shyamalan card of, I wasn't actually making a bad movie with The Happening. I was trying to make a bad movie like Roger Corman would make with The Happening. It's like, no, this was an honest effort on your part, dude.
No, there's nothing.
We all see it. We all know it. This was how you decided to approach it.
Well, and to go on to the pandering thing, they pushed Captain Marvel the same way as soon as Black Panther started getting these sold out theaters full of African American children who, I was excited that they were able to see, because it really was the first, the first black superhero they could see, because Blade technically, but they can't see
nobody
the Blade
remembers
movies.
Steel. Oh, the much maligned
Steel.
Steel. Oh, Shaq.
But it's
what
like,
could have been?
They took that kind of momentum and said, oh, this is a superhero for girls. They get to see a girl. Oh, this is good. And it didn't work because it was obvious that they were pandering. And they kind of did the same with Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, you actually made a great movie with Blue Beetle, but you pandered with trying to sell it instead of trying to sell it as, listen, this is just a really fun, good superhero movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, is now it's like you can see in movies where they're trying to put, okay, where can we put this, and for this audience, and for, like you were saying with that scene in Endgame, where Captain America, they had to have one of the brothers. They said, "Oh, well, that was our inclusion of gay characters. He was gay. He was talking about
his husband."
So it was a 1-minute throwaway line in a real. I agree. It was a really nice scene. It was a throwaway line by one of the directors who has to be in his movies,
which will never be referenced
and that
again.
was the only gay character, and like that's them. Oh, but look at that's
you have all of these superheroes, and none of them are gay.
Like, dude,
I'm going to tell you right now. I get definite bi-fives from M'Baku. I think M'Baku goes both ways.
Sure.
You know, and that's another thing
once again.
I think that's another thing about Black Panther too, is like going back to what you were just saying. Black Panther has several incredibly strong female characters who are deeply representative.
Yes.
And it's not pandering. It doesn't feel like they're trying to force Shuri on us, or they're trying to force Okoye on us. Two characters that the vast majority of audiences did not know going into the movie and came out loving.
Yes.
And you could have done that. It's simple choices. It's choices like, I get it. And I am not a good person to represent this argument or position. But I think the end of Captain Marvel is part of the problem. The end of Captain Marvel is disappointing. It kind of fizzles. Mm-hmm. You have all of these things happening throughout the movie, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. There's espionage, Project Pegasus. There's all these other things going on that are really interesting, which will never be touched on again. I really wonder what Project Pegasus has been doing for the last, 40 fucking years. They've been around the entire fucking time. What has Project Pegasus been doing since the 90s? They've been around this whole fucking time? Mm-hmm. This whole fucking time. You can easily make this character relatable to both men and women.
Yes.
But instead what they do is they put Carol in the position of every woman, with a man who doesn't believe in them, who wants them to be a specific way, who's being talked down to, who's like the whole thing where Jude Law wants to fight her hand to hand at the end of the movie, and she just blasts him. That should be the whole thing. But instead you have all of these fucking speeches about how she's not strong enough, or she's too emotional, or all these other things that women are always told. And you're like, yeah, dude, I hear that on the fucking news all the time. Is it really important that we reinforce it here, or is it important to show her overcoming those things without naming them directly?
Well, and that's the pandering. Like, they have all those girls at that end scene where they're, like, falling off bikes and then they're standing up and looking. It's like, you didn't need to do that, dude.
Like, that doesn't even bother me as much as the Supreme Intelligence stuff. They fucking bailed on the Supreme Intelligence. Yeah. They bailed out hard, to the point where, again, modern Marvel fans do not understand what the Supreme Intelligence is. They don't get it. They don't understand what it is. They think it's an AI. It's not a fucking AI. It's not. It is the merged consciousness of every great leader and scientist of Kree history ever.
Yes.
The whole time. Okay? And might I remind you that the whole thing with the Kree is that the reason they're interested in Earth is because the Kree have stopped evolving as a species. And so they see humans who continue to evolve and change, and they say, we gotta find out what the fuck is going on here.
But this Supreme Intelligence puts on jackets and dances.
Yeah.
Because that's what...
Because that was how it was gonna connect to Carol. And I'm like, you are missing the entire point of this!
Yeah. So I think this really stood out to me, these two movies.
Yeah.
Going back to our beginning with Superman and Fantastic Four, I know we went on the tangent of all tangents.
That might have been our greatest tangent of all time.
It was really, but it was a tangent that was part of this conversation. That's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I knew this tangent was here.
Well, and going back to our ideas about taking stuff from the hardcore nerds, we just took all of Murderbot's table and we were like, sorry, we need this for time.
You're going down the line. You're our new James Bond Murderbot.
Yeah, we'll get to you maybe eventually.
Yeah.